Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. So this week we're going to be doing the corn salsa with the tomato salsa together, combined recipe. And so this was on request from everybody what they wanted to see this week with the live recipe. So we're just going to get right into it and prep our ingredients. And if there's any questions along the way, feel free to ask. We're going to be following the recipes on the channel. This is just kind of a deep dive to help you all out within your own cooking that you have going on at home. So first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and mince up the cilantro and get that ready because this is going to be in both the salsas. So I'm going to go ahead and mince that up. Okay, I don't like to add stems to the recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw these out and set them aside for now because we don't need these. Some people like to add them in their cilantro, but I guess I was taught differently. Okay, let's see here. Oh, rolling away onion. And again, I shared this on the last video, but something you can do to kind of speed this up if you're not really good at mincing cilantro is you can just put your hand on the front part of your blade, and then the back part of your blade, you're just lifting it up and kind of fanning through it just like this. So just a little trick to make this faster, and or if you don't have great cutting skills, I being one of them. Okay. All right, so this is looking really good. I don't know if you all can see this. I'll zoom in for you all so that you can kind of see it with my camera as I'm doing it. We're working on getting a double camera type of setup going, but for now, I just wanted to be able to get one camera on display that isn't my MacBook. So hopefully this isn't too bad. It is a good shot. Okay. So again, I'm just going to kind of fan through it, press the front of the blade down, and then lift the back part up and kind of run through it all, just like this. Sam, is cooking your hobby or profession? That's a great question. Cooking is completely my hobby, I would say. A lot of people will tell me, if you love to cook, why don't you open up a restaurant? And I'll tell them that restaurants are super stressful, and I don't think I have what it takes to ever run that type of thing. So yeah, just strictly a hobby. And I used to do it for work, obviously when I worked at Chipotle, which is kind of what got me into doing these recipes on YouTube, as well as helping others out. Okay, but I appreciate that, Sam. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the cilantro down to dry out on the paper towel, just like this, while we go ahead and prep the rest of our ingredients for the salsa. Okay, and if you're joining late, we are making the requested tomato mild salsa. Let me go ahead. Well, I don't have to worry about it being a little bit messy because I have this cilantro in both ends. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dice our red onion. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this in just a second, but I already peeled it. so it's already ready to go. And all you're going to have to do now is cut it in half like I just did and cut the tip off, just in case you don't know how to dice a red onion. So we're going to do that. Let me zoom in. Hey, Love Pugs, how's it going? All right, let's see here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my onion cutting so everybody can kind of see it better. We're using a camera today and not a MacBook webcam. So kind of excited about that. All right, so we're going to dice these up. Now, again, I like to kind of go through them like this by making lines that are about 1/4 inch apart. A big thing is don't go through the back side of your onion. You want to keep that intact so that you can easily slice through. Otherwise, it'll be really hard to dice this on the other end if you've cut all the way through the back. So I like to kind of angle the blade down. You could do probably one more. I'm doing fantastic, Love Pugs. It's good to see you on this week. I hope you're excited about this salsa recipe. I know my girlfriend's excited about it because she likes the corn salsa and we'll be able to eat it throughout the week. Okay, so now that I've kind of run through some slices on that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it through the middle of the onion like this, so that when I'm dicing it on this half, the dices won't be so long. They'll come out nice and cubed. I'm glad to hear that you're doing good, Love Pugs. I hope that queso recipe helped you out. I appreciate you letting me email that over to you. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to kind of come through it just like this. And that'll make your dices nice and uniform. So this may look a little intimidating, and I the most intimidating thing about it is the fact that the fumes will make you cry. So a little trick to avoid the fumes is that you can wash the onion in water and a little bit of distilled white vinegar, and that will kind of help. You can also wash your diced onion in water and white distilled vinegar to keep it from being so sulfuric, I think is what the term is. I'm not 100% sure on that. So I put mine in the fridge too, because I found that when you keep your onion at a refrigerated temperature, it's a lot easier to cut and there's less fumes that come out of it. So right now I'm wearing glasses and I am not crying, which is fantastic. It does, thank you. But the onion in the fridge for about 15 minutes before cutting. Yeah, it's a great technique that a lot of people don't know about, but could save them from doing this. Because the biggest pain with dicing an onion is probably the crying part. We used to have to, when I worked at Chipotle, back to Sam's question, we used to have to dice 25 pounds of red onion every morning on prep before we would open up. So when I was a kitchen manager at Chipotle, it would be, I'd have a prep sheet and I'd have about 25 pounds of red onion to dice. So you can imagine the amount of practice I've had with it, but I'm still not the best in terms of, I would say, proper cutting technique. Okay. So now that I've got that diced up, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out my camera so you all can follow along with me on the next step here. And then I'll get right back to the chat. Okay. All right. Okay. And I promise next week, I'm going to have 2 cameras, one facing me, just like this, and then I'm going to have one with a close-up of the food, so it'll be really easy to track. A lady from India taught me that trick. That's really neat. you know, I don't know how I learned it. I think it was just from my time, well, again, working at Chipotle, but there's a lot of little tips and tricks that make stuff a lot faster that can seem intimidating about doing these types of things. And again, I think with my one red onion for both of these recipes, I think I overkilled it in terms of the amount of food that I have. But anyways, let me go ahead and grab a bowl and we'll set that aside because we're going to move to the next thing here. All right, so let's move this on. Okay. And again, if you're just now joining the recipe, we're going to be doing the tomato mild salsa and the corn salsa at Chipotle. And if you have any questions about any in-depth recipes, or excuse me, anything in depth with these recipes, feel free to ask. You know, I'm here to answer your questions. Throw it in the chat. We love to hear it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is dicing a poblano pepper. So this poblano pepper is going to be in the corn salsa recipe only. I may not have put this in my corn salsa on my video, but it's definitely on the ingredients list at Chipotle and is something that's added into the corn salsa overall. So I'm going to go ahead and dice that up, zoom it in a little bit so you guys can see. All right, let me get this in more. All right, there we go. How's my audio doing, love pugs? Just to do a sound check. I have a mic on, so I'm hoping that that's working. Okay, now for these. Seeds, you can leave them in. I like to take mine out. I just don't want it inside my salsa. We'll probably have it in our jalapeno salsa. So you're just going to take this and you're going to cut it in half, essentially. So we have that cutting in half. Okay, audio is good. Thank you. All right, so we have it cut in half. Now you could do another slice across, or you could kind of try and lay this flat like I'm going to right now. I like to cut off some of the white flesh here on the inside so that it's even. We call them matchsticks that we're trying to make right now. So we're going to go through this and make our even matchsticks. Again, they're about 1/4 of an inch apart. Apologies if you use millimeters. So I have those there. And again, my knife cutting isn't the best in terms of hand technique with the claw. So please don't, mimic that. Watch a video. But the way you cut the vegetables, I found this to be pretty efficient. Okay, so we have our matchsticks just like this. So now we're going to go through them and dice them. So you want to line them up as good as you can and rock your blade across. And again, we're going to be doing 1/4 of an inch on these. Okay. All right, these are pretty good. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to come through here. Sam, how about a copycat red chimichurri recipe? That's a fantastic suggestion. I think we could definitely get that. To be honest, I actually just had it yesterday at my local Chipotle for the first time, and I thought it was really good. We can definitely make something like that and make a video about it and or put it on our live. Would you like to see it on the live, or would you like a video made on it? Let me know in the comments. Okay, now that we have the poblano pepper diced up, I'm going to add that to my paper towel on the side over here, which you'll be able to see when I zoom out here in a second. Let me just get this all off. Okay. All right, my cutting board's pretty dirty. It's kind of cool. I'm gonna go right into the jalapeno. Mr. Rockfish, how's it going? Salsa looking good. Hey, I appreciate it. Getting all the prep done with everybody right now. And we're at the jalapeno. Okay, so for the jalapeno, you know, cut the top off just like we did with the poblano pepper. All right. Then we're going to go through the center of it just like this. Now that we have it cut in half, a lot of people might think, okay, I can start dicing it. And while you could do that, you don't necessarily need to go into straight dicing it right now. I like to flip it over just like this. This is a cool angle that you can kind of see it. And I'll actually carefully try to cut it in half again from itself. So now that you have these two really thin slices, these matchsticks are going to be nice and even. You could even cut it one more time if you wanted to, but I'm not too worried about it. Let me go through this one. Okay, awesome. So we have this all lined up. I'm going to go through. I'm going to leave the seeds in, but if you don't like extra spice, you can go ahead and take out the white pit and the seeds. That'll add a lot of spice to it. So just another hack within your own recipes. If you want it to be more or less spicy, that's something that you can do to make it more or less spicy. Also, if you want to make it less spicy, but you still want a little bit of a hint of jalapeno, you can rinse out the green jalapeno pepper in the sink, and that'll go ahead and, you know, take off some of the further spice that you had on top of it. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to quarter turn it, butt everything up to the back of my blade right here. And we're going to cut our matchsticks another 1/4 inch. And I'm going to go nice and slow so everyone can see it. Ooh, that was a good one. I didn't have to pick up my blade. I don't know if y'all can see this. Oh yeah, it's a good shot. So that's our 1/4 inch right there. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll go back through and make sure if there's any big ones just like this, I'll go ahead and just kind of dice that up a little bit further. Fantastic. Okay. All right, let me add this to my paper towel over here. So I have my jalapeno, my poblano, my red onion, and my cilantro on the side, which you all can't see, and I'll zoom out so we can get back to the rest of the recipe here. 1 second. Okay. All right, so now that we have all that prepped, we got to prep something else again. This is not my favorite thing to do, and is something that we definitely should clean this cutting board for. So the next thing that we have is our Roma tomatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off over here into the trash. Okay. And then I'm going to rinse this off in the sink. I figured you all didn't want to see a camera shot of the sink or cared. So apologies again for only having one angle on tonight. But it's the best we're going to deal with for the moment. Okay, so we've rinsed that off. Let me go ahead and get my Roma tomatoes. I have 6, and I had 5 in my recipe. So you can use 5 if you have 5, but I have 6 tonight that we can kind of go through. So make sure you rinse it off. That's important. And then strain it. Another thing too, with your corn salsas is add this to your refrigerator probably a day before, because they kind of come in frozen. You can use fresh corn on the cob. I like to use frozen in the bag corn. Just so I don't have to dice it off the cob, and I like that it's nice and uniform and easily cut. So I had that defrosting in the sink after I rinsed it off, so it's all nice and ready to go for our salsa. So let me go ahead and add that back to the sink in the strainer, and we're going to dice our Roma tomatoes next. But first, let me check the chat here. Sam, a video would be great. I'm also curious how the adobo is made. That's a great question. I know that it's not made with the canned chipotle and adobo. Maybe a recipe with ground chipotle powder would be cool. Yeah, so on that, Sam, the recipe that Chipotle uses, yes, they don't derive their stuff from a can. My recipe with the Chipotle chicken, the reason why I use the adobo sauce from the can is because it's easily replicable in a house. To get the same result, we would have to use dried peppers, which we can do, and I can make a video on, which in my chicken recipe that had to do with the other pollo asado, I believe, on my channel, that does have dried peppers in it that we're going to add and boil up, and then we would blend them. So essentially, you'd take your peppers, you de-seed them, and you'd have to do a quick boil on them and throw them in a blender to make the sauce with the spices. So that would get you the marinade from scratch per se, and then add white vinegar and your spices to it to get what Chipotle uses for their marinade. So we surely can do that. That would be cool for our in-depth people. I'd love to do that. So I can make a video on that. That sounds like a good plan. Gym workouts, how's it going? Good to see you. We got a camera this time, so hopefully this is better quality, and I have some audio too than what we were using before. So you didn't miss much. All I did was prep the ingredients. We have our diced jalapeno, diced poblano, minced cilantro, and diced red onion. So all we're doing now is dicing up our Roma tomatoes. So if you know how to do this, you're good. All right, so let me grab my knife, rinse this off. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in the camera real quick so you guys can kind of see an up close of the tomatoes. All right, let's get this adjusted. I'm gonna really zoom in for you guys so you can see kind of a cool shot here. Just to let everyone know, I went to film school after I started my Chipotle videos to help with my videos. And here I am struggling with, kind of procrastinating and not having the best quality videos. So hopefully this is a step up. Okay. Love Pugs. Nice. Yes. Awesome. Glad to hear that the stream is sounding better, Gym Workouts. We like to hear that. Next week, I'll have another camera angle going that I can switchboard in and out, just kind of like what we're doing today. Okay. And then ZMZ Leader. I would love to see how the honey Chipotle chicken is made, and I wish they would bring it back. I would love to make that recipe, and believe it or not, I am writing the script right now for that recipe, and I will be showing everybody how to do that. So that is going to be a video on my channel. Okay, for the Roma tomatoes, this may not be a conventional way to dice them, but I'm going to do my way that's easy. So I went ahead and sliced off both ends, maybe not the most popular method, and then I'm going to come down the center here. And then I'm going to flip this over. And then I'm going to do another cut halfway through it. Essentially what I like to get is nice flat cutting surfaces that I can dice. Kind of like what we were doing with the jalapeno. Ooh, that's a really good one right there. Because essentially you want the dices to be about a 1/4 inch cube on each side. You can make them bigger or less depending on what you'd like, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut through these. Again, my cutting technique is not great. I should be claw method doing this. I could probably go through this one more time like this. As you guys can see, it's a little bit taller than the other one, but for the sake of this video and time, I'm going to go ahead and just cut through it like this because I don't mind my tomatoes being a little bit different. Again, Chipotle uses either pre-bagged tomatoes now, but when I was at the store, we would dice our tomatoes fresh with a machine. So the machine would go through, it would dice them just like I am now. Well, not like I am now. It would dice it fresh like I am now, but it would go through this machine. You drop them in, and then it comes out diced, and we would load up a sheet pan and let it strain. Okay, so that's one of them. I have 5 to do, so y'all are gonna have to bear with me. Throw some stuff in the chat. As you can see, we have some really nice diced tomatoes. Something that I'm gonna do that we need to add with this is we have to strain out these tomatoes because the excess juice we don't necessarily need. So I'm gonna go ahead and add them to a strainer and put them in the sink to strain while we're cutting the other ones so that when we're ready to go, which we can mix up the corn salsa first, then this will be perfectly ready. I believe this was a comment on the first live stream that we had was, how do I make sure that tomatoes aren't so mushy? And so really, salsa will last if you can not put too much pressure on the tomato, and if you can dice your tomatoes, and then you might be able to vacuum seal the tomatoes in a bag and then prep them fresh each day. Otherwise, if you add citrus and salt to this, it's going to degrade it over time. So over time, it's not going to do very well with that. And that's why Chipotle likes to make this fresh every day, because they know the quality is not going to be fantastic. But that's another trick too, is straining out the juice so that you don't have it all soggy when you're putting it into a prep container. Okay, let me get back to the chat here. Love Pugs, Roma tomatoes better to use for the salsa. Yes, Chipotle uses Roma tomatoes in their recipe. And for this salsa specifically, I would use Roma tomatoes. That's going to get you the most taste alike from Chipotle's recipe, other than grapevine tomatoes. Grapevine tomatoes would be better for like a hamburger or a sandwich. Okay. Let's see here. Love Pugs. I prefer the Roma tomatoes. Excellent. I prefer them too. They are fantastic. I haven't used anything else than the Roma tomatoes. Oh, something else that I didn't add as a tip that I'm realizing right now is putting the skin down on the back of your cutting board will make it significantly easier to cut these. I don't know why I didn't mention that earlier. That's for your jalapenos and peppers and tomatoes alike. It's a lot easier to go from the inside than from the outside. Buddy Nova, hey Chris and everyone. Hey, how's it going? Rockfish, love to see it. Glad to have you back, Buddy Nova. We are going through the salsa recipes today and prepping our tomatoes. Gym workouts. Maybe the knife sucks because I always end up getting soggy tomatoes after cutting through them. That could be it. So a big reason people kind of struggle with this is putting too much pressure on the tomatoes, and you might just have to dice more. And a sharp blade will always make things better in terms of quality, no matter what you're using, including tomatoes, so that you're not having to handle them as much. So less is more with this, I would say, in terms of keeping the quality good. So let's see here. See that? It kind of came out, I would say, really well from a cut. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my strainer. This one was a little bit squishier. Something else you could try, gym workouts, is finding a tomato, a Roma tomato, that is not as ripe. While it won't taste as good, it will be easier to cut and won't fall apart on you as much. So I don't know if everybody can see this, but this is what they're looking like right now in the strainer. See how the juice is kind of coming out on my cutting board? That's what we're getting rid of because we don't need a soupy salsa for this salsa at least. Love Pugs, great. Yes. And glad to see you all conversing over there. It's fantastic. So I have 3 left. I'm going to try to work quickly here. Hopefully I don't cut myself. Just kidding. Won't do that. But yeah, so the tomato recipe, again, this is a harder way to do it. I wonder if they have dicing machines online that you could get. I think that's a little bit overkill, for at home, but surely would make this a lot easier. Something else you could do is you could get diced tomatoes from a can. While I wouldn't encourage that because it's not going to be super fresh or great tasting, it might be easier if you're not good at cutting and you're like, hey, Chris, I just don't want to cut. Also, you could look into whether or not your city has a restaurant supply, which restaurant supply is membership only, so that's a bad example. But where I'm going with that is if there's a restaurant supply chain, meaning a chain that has to do with selling food to restaurants. US Foods is one of them that we have where I'm at. They might actually have bagged diced tomatoes that are fresh. Because from what I know is that Chipotle switched to bagged tomatoes. I don't know if they went back to fresh in the stores. But from what I know is they do locally bagged from different manufacturers. Cisco Foods could be one of them. I'm not sure. But for people that are at home, US Foods is something that's open to the public. Same with Shamrock Foods. And I'm not sure if they'll allow or if they have Roma tomatoes that are diced. Okay, so we only have a few. Let's see here. We have 2 tomatoes left for the recipe to get to 5. Okay. Let's see here. For, I think it was gym workouts or someone last week that requested the beans. I am so sorry because I think we were supposed to do beans tonight. I forgot and put that we were going to do the salsa because we got distracted by everybody talking about the salsa. So my apologies, but I have the bean recipe ready to go in its true form. And next week we will knock out the bean recipes, pinto and black, and I can have them both done in the same night. Really easy once you have them soaking to do that recipe. Okay, so I'm going to run through these for everybody. This is going quick. I'll cut through. I have a really sharp knife, but even my sharp knife, it doesn't do well. Again, put the skin side down and you'll have a lot easier time making your matchsticks or the lines. I like to call them matchsticks though. Okay. GFS we have here. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I wonder if GFS has bagged diced tomatoes. You could use that if you're not wanting to do what I'm doing right now. But I promise this isn't that bad. And next week I can let you all know how long this lasts in the fridge with its quality. And I'm going to guess that it's going to have like a max of like 2 days to be good quality wise. Okay, you see here how I'm struggling because I have so many lines going through that it's hard to kind of flatten through with the blade. So if I went through it like this, the quality would kind of go down. I'm going to get out these middle of the tomato parts. If you like them, good for you. I don't. Let's see here. Mr. Rockfish 01, I use a veggie chopper with 3 1/8" square blades. I just slice the tomatoes and chop the slices. Oh, that's a really good idea, actually. You know, I've never even thought about that. Is that something that you got off of Amazon, or is that like a older item or something you got from like an antique shop, or where could you get something like that? I'm sure Amazon has something cool, or like Williams and Sonoma. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, this all looks really good. Stuff like this, gym workouts, you don't have to put in your salsa. You can take, you know, this out. Gym workouts might have been someone else. I just use canned beans when I make your recipe. Nice. Yeah, I like to just use canned beans as well, everyone. I think it's faster, but I'm going to try the dried bean recipe and see if I can get it to where it's quick for everyone, if that's something anybody wants to do, but the canned are a great option. All right, so we're going to add the rest of our tomatoes to our strainer and get our corn out and start the salsa. Let's see here. Take this out. I don't want the seeds. Something they'll do is they will strain the seeds out and this juice at Chipotle, for those who are just joining now. So that's what we did right now. We're straining this out over in the sink while we prep our corn salsa. Okay, so we had an extra tomato. I had bought 6, but we only need 5 for the recipe. So I'm gonna put that aside, clean up my station right here, get this ready. All right, look at this cut. I mean, that came out really good. I don't know if you guys can, that's kind of blurry, kind of far, but these are coming out really good. So I think the salsa is gonna come out really well. All right, let's add that to here. Wipe this down. Okay. I need a bowl. Sorry if that's loud on the audio. Okay, so I'm gonna add my corn to my bowl. I'm gonna zoom out so everybody can kind of see what I'm doing. All right. So what I'll do, everyone, thanks for your patience, is I'll add the ingredients and then we can kind of do a close-up and stir them together and talk. Let me see here. I'm still kind of out of the shot. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we'll talk real quick while I'm adding these ingredients in. Gym workouts. I already got that one. Sam, as a former Chipotle employee in Germany. Wow, Sam, Germany. That is really cool. Tell me, Sam, do they have different ingredients in Germany for their recipes? Do you know? How does it kind of come in? I recommend to use the nicer dicer for the tomatoes. That works great. Ooh, nicer dicer, everyone. So not sure if that's a product on Amazon or eBay or somewhere out there, but really good tip, Sam. Appreciate that. Love Pugs. Is your chopper one of those with the 4 sides of the cup that goes inside round? I got one of those. Ooh, so Love Pugs has her own chopper. So it sounds like I'm kind of late to the train here, and if I had a chopper, this would have been so much better, which is kind of funny. No Amazon. Okay. So nothing on Amazon. Interesting. Okay, so for the corn salsa, we're going to be adding 3/4 a cup of cilantro. So there's a lot of cilantro in these salsas. If you're not a cilantro fan and you just like a little bit, again, you can do whatever you want with these recipes. You can put in more or less of however you feel. I'm just doing what I found to be the most accurate in terms of Chipotle. Okay. So I have one 10-ounce bag of frozen corn for those of you that are joining. I just had it thawed out overnight in the fridge, and then I rinsed it off in the strainer in the sink so that it's ready to go. So we just added our cilantro, 3/4 a cup to our bowl with 10 ounces of our frozen corn that's now defrosted. Half a cup of red onion. So we diced red onion earlier. I'm going to go ahead and add that in here. 2 tablespoons of our diced jalapeno. So I'm going to add 2. The corn salsa is supposed to be a medium spice, actually, in the recipe guide at Chipotle. It's supposed to have a little bit of a kick to it. I never found that it did. I think the sweetness and the corn kind of threw that off. So it has that. 1 tablespoon of diced poblano pepper. So I did not, and I will admit this, I did not have this in my Chipotle chicken bowl recipe with the corn salsa, but there is poblano pepper in the corn. So you got to add it. We're going to do a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to put a pinch in here, see how it tastes, and add more or less depending on how I like it. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of lemon and lime juice. Not using fresh limes and lemons today. Feels like a crime, but we're going to go ahead and use this stuff because I think it tastes just as fine. So we're going to do a tablespoon of each in our corn salsa. All right, probably put a little bit too much in there. I don't know if y'all saw that, but kind of added a little bit too much with that. Okay, let me look at the chat, and then we're going to zoom in and mix this together. Okay. LOL, Chris, I still cut with my tomatoes with a knife. Fantastic. Well, I think we need to get on this dicing device game because it sounds a lot more efficient than using the knife, and probably safer maybe, I'm not sure. You're probably a great cutter though, so you probably don't have to even worry about that. I do. Mr. Rockfish, yes, that's the one. There we go. Gym workout, cilantro is amazing. I don't know why some people say it tastes like toothpaste. So my girlfriend thinks it tastes like soap, and probably some of you know this, but it's actually a genetic like modifier for when people taste cilantro. Some of them think it tastes like soap, and it's because it has to do with a certain gene that they have. It was actually on a ancestry trait test where it'll tell you stuff if you have that or not. Kind of weird, but they'll be like, does cilantro ever taste like soap to you? Well, it's a genetically different thing. So kind of funny. Okay, so Mr. Rockfish got his tomato dicer on Amazon. So I'm going to need a link for that, sir, or ma'am, or them. Chipotle uses raw poblano and nor roasted poblanos. So that's a good question. So they say that their corn is a roasted corn salsa. So I think the corn portion is roasted. I don't think that the peppers are roasted though. I think the peppers are just fresh. I think it's the corn. You can go to the grocery store actually and get some fire roasted corn. I like to use the sweet corn. Personally, I think that tastes better. The fire roasted corn, I don't know, it tastes a little bitter to me. And that part confuses me. I'm not exactly sure about that one. Maybe it was soap and not toothpaste. Yeah, I don't know. I could have swore it was called soap within what they were saying, but maybe it is. I'm not sure. Okay, so we're going to bring the bowl over here so you guys can kind of see it. This is my favorite part. So this was probably the best job, I would say, in Chipotle, was to make the salsas because it was so easy. So again, I said earlier, and I'll say this again, but a lot of the people that worked in the morning shift, they would have to make the salsas. But if you're one of the people that had to make the onions and essentially dicing the onions, that was the worst job, because then the people on the line, I think, were the ones making the salsas, and they would just literally do what I just did right now, which is mixing it around and then adding it inside a bowl and adding in ingredients, and that's it. Like that was their job. So they had it pretty easy. Okay, so that is the corn, but let's get back to the tomatoes. So if you're just joining, the tomatoes, we added them to the sink to strain, and now we're going to be adding our ingredients to another bowl to make our tomato salsa and finish this one out. Okay, so let me grab another tin bowl and then I'll get back to the chat. Should have had bowls ready to go. Sorry, guys. Ooh, I'm going to use a clear bowl so that you guys can kind of see. So what I should have done before we started is I should have strained those tomatoes and diced them ahead of time, and then, just did an example dice, but I didn't do that. So the tomatoes, you really want to give at least half an hour to strain out, to get all that juice out, because we don't want all that excess liquid inside our salsa for this tomato salsa specifically. That's something that they would do at Chipotle. They put it in a hotel pan, strain it, sometimes all day to overnight, just depends. Okay. Love Pugs. Sorry, no link for mine. Got it as a gift. And that's okay. Do you remember what the brand is called? That's a great question. Cosborn looks damn good. I appreciate that. You can make this at home too. Glad that you're joining us. Gym workouts. Have you seen the video of Chipotle CEO eating at Chipotle? Seemed like the first time he ever ate there. Yeah, I haven't seen that video. But first of all, I'm assuming that's hilarious, because I'm pretty sure that the CEO of Chipotle switched spots with the CEO of Starbucks. Essentially, Chipotle hired the Starbucks CEO, and the Starbucks CEO hired, the Chipotle CEO hired Starbucks, and vice versa. I'm in a tongue twister. But yeah, I'm wondering if it was that Starbucks CEO eating Chipotle, and maybe it was his first time. Because back when I worked with the OG CEO, Steve Ells, who started Chipotle in Denver. And back then, we didn't even have queso. It was really strict. They didn't believe in all of what they're doing now, which I think what they're doing now is good. So I'll have to look. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, let us know, because it's probably really nice. Gym workouts, I believe so. Yeah, it probably is. I think his name is Brian or something. Okay, let me get the tomatoes out. I accidentally put some corn in here when I was pulling out the corn from the bowl over there. Okay, so this, again, hasn't had a ton of time to strain, but we're going to do it. All right. Put those in there. We have a little bit of extra. You shouldn't do this because it's considered cross-contamination, but it's all raw vegetables, so it's fine. It's not like I'm using this on raw chicken and I'm moving it to a vegetable. All right, so we have our tomatoes here. And I want to get a close-up on this one because I want to explain Jim Workout's question, because I think this is important as to why you should let them strain. And this might be the key to figuring out why you have the issue that you do. So I'm going to try to zoom in like this because it's a clear bowl, and we'll see if it looks good enough to explain. Let me go up. Okay. That will look good, I think, once I get over there. All right. Thanks everyone for your patience on the camera stuff. Okay. So you can see that we have some really good dices, right? Gym workouts. But then you see at the bottom how we have this juice kind of straining down like that. So all of that you can get rid of just from simply, straining it over time. And so that'll make it less mushy, quote unquote, within your salsa. That's really what you need to do to get this to look perfect. Because I have some really good diced cuts here that aren't mushy and are coming out really good. But again, it's that juice, I think, that might be causing your issue. So let me put this back. Let's check the chat. Cosworn, if Chipotle would quit shorting me on the meat, I'd literally eat there every lunch break. Yeah, that is a common complaint that people will get. Little tip for you though, I don't know if you like to mix your meats, but if you get half chicken, half steak, or half of one protein and half of another, whatever it be, it's very difficult for the employees to do a half portion correctly, and you'll end up getting more of each overall, meaning the half and half is supposed to be one serving, 4 ounces, 4 ounces, or excuse me, 2 ounces, 2 ounces to 4, but it might end up being like 3 and 3, which is 6. So you'll end up getting more meat if you do it that way. That's a little bit of a hack. I have a bunch of hacks that you could do. Believe it or not, at least when I worked there, they would have money that you could comp meals every shift. So every shift you could give away free food. So I would give away free food to some of the regulars I knew, and then anytime something went awry, because I was a kitchen manager. Okay, for the tomato salsa, let's get going on this. So we need 3/4 a cup to 5 diced Roma tomatoes. So 3/4 a cup of minced cilantro. So we're gonna add that to our bowl. There's our minced cilantro. Next, we're gonna add half a cup of red onion. So I'm gonna add the red onion. Again, I diced a ton of red onion, did not need to dice this much, but that's okay. Let's see here. 2 tablespoons of, 1 tablespoon of diced jalapeno. So I have enough for 1 tablespoon left. And yes, there's jalapeno in this. If you really don't like spice, don't put the jalapeno in, or wash the green part of the pepper, take out the seed, and it won't be super spicy if you want a little bit of a kick. Sam, ingredients in Germany are the same. Okay, well, that's good to know. They started to substitute some ingredients to lower costs, like more tomatoes in the green salsa than tomatillos, as they are not available in Germany and pricey. Now, that's really interesting. So tomatoes are not available in Germany as much, or were the green tomatillos? Okay, everyone, so this is the ingredients that we prepped tonight. We're gonna be adding the final few things. So we have 1 tablespoon of both lemon and lime juice. So I'm gonna be adding that to the tomato salsa. I need to add a little bit more there. There we go. Gym workouts, good idea. Yes, let me know if that works for you. I think that might be the missing component of what you're, kind of facing, that and, a sharp knife and or a cutter for your stuff. Okay, kosher salt. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon. Again, the kosher salt, I start with a teaspoon and then you can taste test and add more or less depending on what you'd like. Okay, so we're gonna be mixing that around. All right, wow, this is looking really good. Very cilantro-y, but we like cilantro, we like fresh food. All right, so I don't know if everyone can see this. All right, Mr. Rockfish, you can use a salad spinner to drain the tomatoes in like 1 minute. That is so smart. I'm gonna have to buy a salad spinner just because you said that, Mr. Rockfish, because now everyone's going to remember that that is a better technique and I'm gonna look dumb with the strainer. That is fantastic. I don't know if you heard that, gym workouts, but or saw that, but a salad spinner for your tomatoes to get rid of the juice. That's a fantastic idea. I love that. Again, if you have any ideas, throw them in the chat of how to make this more efficiently. Okay, so we're done with both our salsa recipes here. Buddy Nova, that's awesome. Thank you for the hack. Isn't that a great hack, Buddy Nova? I don't think I've ever heard that one before. Because you think, oh, salad spinner, you got to use this for salad only. But it's like, who's saying you have to use that for salad only? That's not correct. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. All right. Okay. So we have our salsa recipes right here. We have our corn and we have our fresh tomato recipes. I'm pumped that I get to eat this week. I don't know about you all. Does anybody have any more questions on this now that we're wrapping up with our time? I'll try to use a colander strainer first. Hey, it can't hurt. Just make sure you give yourself enough time. You could do the tomatoes in the morning or at night, put them in the fridge in a strainer with something underneath the strainer so that it can strain. Or you could do it just because when you dice tomatoes, you're going to want to keep them refrigerated as soon as you dice them, or you're going to want to serve them. You'll have 6 hours after you technically dice them before they can go bad. Because once you dice a tomato, it's considered a potentially hazardous food and has to be stored below 40 degrees once you dice it. Just a fun fact there. Corn, I am not 100% sure on. I'd probably treat it the same way because corn is off the cob and it's no longer on the cob and it's been cooked. Salad strainer in this economy. Yeah, exactly. But hey, it's Prime Day, so it might be like 15% off if somebody wants to get it Prime Day. But yeah, love pugs. I love my salad spinner. I never thought of that. I use it for my lettuce and peppers. Cute potatoes for cheesy potatoes. Oh, cute potatoes. Oh, those are like really small potatoes, right? Like micro potatoes. That's a really good idea. See, I'm going to buy a salad spinner tonight because it's Prime Day. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Buddy Nova. Yes, that's awesome too. I was also thanking you for the half and half meat hat. Oh, well, I appreciate that. Another, just a little fun thing while we're wrapping up. If you go, I don't know if they still do this. Pretty sure they do still do this. But if you want to get the most ingredients, always get them in a bowl because they'll give you more rice than they will in a burrito because they have to wrap the burrito. So start with a bowl and you can get as much rice as you want. You can get as much beans with you as you want. Heck, you can get as much of anything that you want. The only thing they're going to charge you extra for is the meats, the queso, and the guacamole. And now the chimichurri sauce, which we're going to make a recipe on. Because that's $1 something, I think, because I got it yesterday. It was really good. So you need all of those. So you can get as many beans as you want, as many as that you want. Get it in a bowl so they, can keep adding it. You can ask for more. And then you can get a burrito tortilla shell on the side. So you can get that on the side. Actually, I think you can get 2 on the side, right? I think you guys know where I'm going with this. So you could get 2 burrito shells on the side. You could get double portions of everything besides the meat. Do the half and half trick. And then it's not the cleanest way to do it. And you could technically get everything on the side of your bowl in portion cups. Then you could go home and you could make 2 burritos for the price of 1. I don't know if since the new CEO and all the weird changes, I might actually go and try this for everybody. But I don't know if they made it more strict. But when I worked there, you could definitely do that. You could get all your stuff in the bowl on the side. Say you have an allergen. Be like, I have an allergy. I need all this on the side. And I want double white rice, double black beans, half and half chicken and steak, which that would come out in a 4 ounce, or excuse me, in a 2 ounce container. They'd be able to measure it. So it may not, get extra meat or whatever. And then you could get 2 burritos for the price of 1 with 1 bowl. So that's a little trick that you could do. Let's see here. Gym workouts. They charge for the tortilla on the side now. Oh, that just killed my hack, right? But if you get 1 and then you have a sleeve of tortillas at home, you could potentially still get all those ingredients free. So that is a little bit of a hack, but yeah, they've kind of gotten, I think, stingy because of food prices going up and whatnot, which is unfortunate, but all the more reason why we can do all of this at home. That didn't, I think from start to finish, it took me less than an hour to do all that. So if I can do it, all of you can as well. It's only 30 cents, but still, okay. Still, it's not free. A pack of tortillas is like $2 or something. But yeah, and you can go to we mentioned this earlier, but you can go to a food supply store and you can get a big box of tortillas. Probably won't finish them before the quality goes bad. But you can get big burrito shell sized tortillas from a food supply store that you wouldn't be able to normally get at a grocery store that Chipotle would use. And then you can throw it in the microwave, I like to put a wet paper towel, wrap it around it so it steams it inside the microwave, fold it in half. And then you can wrap your burrito like that, which we'll do something on the live with that in order to wrap it. James Wickman, thank you. You are the man. Thank you are the man. Whoever that is directed towards, either me or them, thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Rockfish, what size tortillas do they use at Chipotle? I think it's 12-inch burrito shells from what I remember. They're pretty big, but I believe they're 12-inch, if not 10, but I'm pretty sure they're 12-inch. They have a specific relationship to get their tortillas manufactured. And the press that they use, I believe, is a custom-made press that only Chipotle has a deal with to get. But again, you can warm it up in the microwave to steam it. You don't need to buy all that fancy stuff to make that. Okay, so we are officially done today. If there's no more questions or anything in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and end this live. Next week, we're going to be doing the bean recipes. I'll put a reminder up there, same time on Wednesday. Hope y'all are loving this. And then we'll talk then. But if anybody has anything, they can reach me via email in my description box in my channel. If you have any questions, I know someone reached out last week about the queso recipe. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or comment on the videos and I'll get back with you. All right. Good stream. Hey, thank you. We will be back next week with more cameras. All right. Let me go ahead and end this.